I would like to introduce our second speaker, Dr. Arshad Javed. Dr. Arshad Javed is currently an assistant professor at the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Birla Institute of Technology and Science. It is BITS Plani, Hyderabad campus. He obtained his BTech Mechanical Engineering from BIET Jhansi, UP, and did his Mechanical Engineering ME and PhD from BITS Plani campus. His teaching and research interests include topology, optimization, robotics, mechatronics, automation, and microfluidic systems. He has published 15 papers in respected international journals and presented more than 30 research works in national and international conferences. He has also filed 2 patents on the area of robotics and automation. Recently, he is involved in for funded projects in the domain of automation and microfluidics. He was awarded DS Early Career Research Award in year 2017 and Biotechnology Industry Research Assistant Council Innovator Challenges Award in year 2018. It's our privilege to be you are here, sir, for this session. I will welcome you for this session, sir.
Thank you. So I can share my screen now, correct?
Yeah, please, you can share your screen.
Assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I am very fine, alhamdulillah. So,
please start.
Ji.
You are welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, good morning and assalamu alaikum, you all. So, as introduced myself, Arshad Javed. So, the topic given to me is automation and robotics, and the time is 1 hour. And since it's a faculty development program, I would like to focus the things which are important from faculty perspective. Rather than focusing much more about the technical details, I would like to focus much more about the opportunities and methodologies in this area. 1 hour is really very less time, so probably we will plan something larger in this aspect in future, where we can give you a lot of information in a series of lectures. So anyway, let us start. So the content of today's lecture is, I'll start with the introduction of automation, the basic things, and then we'll see some introduction about robotics, and then we will see what are the opportunities in terms of product development, academia research, industrial process development, and teaching methodologies, which I feel is much more relevant to today's program, faculty development. So let us start with automation. So as you know, every day new technology is coming in this era. So let us look back at what was happened earlier. So this chart is taken from a book, Mechatronics by R.J. Bishop. There they have discussed the things which have been developed in the course of time. So if you start observing from the top, it is year 1900, okay, 19th century. So you can see that the systems were purely mechanical, and the things which we had was steam engine, dynamos, circular pumps, combustion engine, mechanical typewriter, mechanical calculators also. So those who are old enough, they might have seen the mechanical typewriter where they have a lot of levers and buttons, and if you have to add a number of times, you have to rotate the lever a number of times. So there used to be a mechanical calculator similar to typewriter. There is no digital, there is no electronics involved in that. So from year 1900 to 1920, it was the era of increasing electrical drives. That was a time where the electrical motors were mature enough to take place in the industrial automation. So here we start with the pure mechanical system, and then we move slowly to mechanical system inbuilt with the prime movers, which are electrical. So the basic things which were incorporated in this time domain, 1900 to 1920, was DC motor and AC motor in 1870, 1889. So you can see the things which were already running through steam engines, basically. Steam engine and IC engine were the prime movers earlier, turbines also, of course. And then we got AC and DC motor, which are very smart and compact at that time compared to the mechanical drives. So now in 1920, the system were mechanical system with electrical drives. So the prime mover was changed, and rest of all mechanism was remain as mechanical. And then the basic thing, one of the you can say product is electrical typewriter, and so many other things. And then from the time domain from 1920 to 1935, it was the time of increasing automatic control. Means if you see a very old printing machine, you'll find that there is a big motor, big induction motor, which is running the entire system. And you can see hundreds of mechanical components like cams and drives and gears and belts, pulleys, which are translating the continuous motion into intermittent motion, continuous one type of velocity into different type of velocity, continuous motion into reciprocating motion. So we need lot of different type of motions in a printing machine, which were like obtained through different kind of mechanical mechanisms. So here people were interested to know how to run these things automatically. So the input were in this domain was relays and solenoids. Relays are very important thing. And if you see the history of automation, the first stage of automation is relay based automation. The simplest example of relay, you can find it in your home. When you open the refrigerator door, the light switch on, and when you close it, light switch off. So you can find a small switch near to the door which gets closed and open. So this is a relay, and this is the simplest thing which we can have as an automatic system. So now you can see that the fridge has got a little kind of intelligence, and the fridge is able to sense that when the door is open and when the door is closed. Nowadays in refrigerator, some more intelligence has been brought using microcontroller. When you keep it open for a larger time, it gives you a sound signal, correct? Or the light goes off. So that is a kind of next level intelligence which we'll see across this time domain. So relays and solenoids were the basic things which were able to incorporate some degree of automation, and you can say machine intelligence from 1920, correct? And then we have hydraulic and pneumatic electrical amplifiers and PI controllers in 1930. So these are the basic things which were invented or which were developed to be incorporated in industrial systems. So with these systems, relays and hydraulic and PI controllers, the system was mechanical system with automatic control. Just now I have given the example of refrigerator. You can imagine the kind of thing. Those who understand PLC programming we probably will see. They know that the PLC programming in ladder logic is basically the circuit diagram of relay logic. Correct? You can, if you want, you can note down this thing. The ladder logic program of PLC is equal to the circuit diagram of relay logic. So if you don't have a PLC, correct, you can connect the relays in the same circuitry which is already shown by a ladder program through a PLC program. So it will always work in a hardware also using relays. So the relays were the first thing to automate the systems. And then you can see the basic thing in 1935, the basic industrial system was the steam turbines and aircraft, which has got automatic control through relays and through solenoids and through PI controllers. That was the basic thing. After 1935, two important things were invented. That was transistor in 1948 and thyristor in 1955. We mechanical engineers are very scared about this electronic terminologies of transistors and thyristors and PI. Basically, we should not, because nowadays engineering is engineering, correct? Engineering is no more civil engineering or mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, correct? So if you go to the industry and if you go to any kind of real research work, you'll find that there is no hardcore boundary of engineering domain. Starting from biology to electronics, mechanical, civil, everything is combined together. And those who are able to understand the basics of different domain are able to survive and are able to excel in this domain. So that's how we have to understand that what is transistor. So transistor is a kind of actuator, actually, actuator or relay. So you know there are three systems in that. Like I am drawing here on the left side, so you can see that this is the base and collector and emitter. This is how we somehow you show. We might have seen it in class 12th, and after that probably you are looking at it now. So this is base, this is collector, and this is emitter. That's what we know, and that is the basic thing which is required to know. So the theory says that you might have studied a lot of theories and graphs and characteristics and so many different confusing things and a lot of other things. So the basic phenomena here is if you provide a base circuit here, correct? If you provide a closed circuit in the baseline, so base is, let us say, positive and emitter is negative. If you provide a 5-volt supply to this one, correct, you are going to say that you have put base in forward bias and the current is established in base to emitter circuit. So what will happen? The collector to emitter circuit will start flowing the current. So if you provide a current source here, correct, a voltage source here, voltage, and this is the ground here. So what will happen if you switch on this system? You provide a switch here. If you switch on this system, or if you enable the base circuit here, C to E circuit is also going to be operated. So this is a kind of relay, and actually this is a kind of relay. There is nothing much more scary in transistor. It's a simple mechanical relay. In the relay, what we do, we have electromagnetic circuit. You have a coil, correct? And over the coil, like if I take the example of, so imagine this as a coil. So you put a electrical coil here, correct? And then when you apply a current or voltage here, correct, this system is going to become magnetic, correct? This is going to become a magnetic substance. And then over that, you put a mild steel sheet, which is getting attracted the moment you make it magnetic. So this sheet will come down, correct? So now what you do here, since it is coming down, you can make another sheet here. I'll take another object. You take another sheet here, correct? Or a kind of connector here. You can take another one here, which has got a wired connection. So from here, you take a wire, and from this mild steel, you take another wire. Understand? From this, you take one wire, and from this blue end, you take another wire. And if you attach this, what is going to happen? You get a closed circuit, correct? Circuit is going to be closed through what? Through this action. This sheet comes down and touches this end, correct? And this is now happening with the help of this magnetism, electromagnet. When you actuate the current here, this is going to become the magnet, and this sheet comes and goes down to this, and you get a closed circuit in this blue end to this scale end, correct? So this is a simple relay. This is a simple relay in which you provide a 5 volt to 12 volt DC supply here, which makes this object as an electromagnet. And this electromagnet is going to work as a switch. Look at this one. This is a switch actually. This is a switch actually, which goes down and connects. So this is a switch which can operate a larger voltage, 24 volt, 220 volt, or anything else. So this is a simple relay in which we use a small voltage to actuate a large voltage, to operate a large voltage, correct? You have seen circuit breakers in electrical stations and all. So these all are relays. So here also we make a electrical relay. The one which I shown here is a magnetic relay. You'll find it in 5 rupees to 10 rupees. You can make different objects using that. So here transistor acts as a small relay, where when you actuate a 5 volt supply to base current, it is going to allow you to flow a larger supply of 100 volts or 24 volts from C to E circuit, correct? So in this circuit, now you can connect a big AC bulb, correct, big supply, and this is going to work. So what happens? You have a small switch which allows 5 volt to flow in this circuit, and by pressing this switch, you are going to run a big supply here, correct? So this is how transistors were useful in translating the hard, or you can say the larger size relays into smaller transistors. And day by day, the size of transistor gets minimized. When we saw transistor in our childhood, in let us say 1985, 1986, in our home, there was a big radio, and my father used to open that and used to show us. So there was a bulb, glass bulb of this size, correct, of pencil cell size, bigger cell, and that is a transistor. Nowadays, even if I put a transistor in my hand, it is hardly possible for you to see that there is a transistor. So it has got miniaturized day by day. And in your IC, which you use in the mobile phone or watches and all, you have thousands and lakhs of transistor in a drop size, correct? So that is the biggest thing which we can see, that we have observed transistors in 1948, and that has given a lot of flexibility to work out with automation. So now with those things, we have developed the things mechanical system with electronic or analog control or sequential control, means once after another the sequence is going to happen. And the example is electronic controlled lifts. The lift which we see here, it was there in 1955 first time, where you push a button and the things are going to move up and down. So we are at 1955 now. From 1955 to 1975, the things which were incorporated was digital computer. This is again because of miniaturized size of transistors, process computer, real-time softwares, microcomputer, digital decentralized automations in 1975. And this era was called as increasing automation with process computers and miniaturization. Correct? This was the very nascent stage of today's automation, where people have started realize computing system working as a human mind and taking decisions and controlling the hardwares using relays, using microcontrollers, using digital computers, and so on. And then we had different systems with digital continuous control and digital sequence. Digital means you are able to program it, correct? We are able to program it. We are able to program in zeros and ones. Then those were digital systems. And the different systems in that era using those technologies were machine tools like lathe machines, milling machines, industrial robot, 1975, industrial plants, disk drive. We had earlier floppy disk drives, correct? So floppy disks were mechanical system or magnetic shield, things were written. Even now in old system, you have a hard disk drive where in glass plate, magnetic substance are coated, and then we are able to write. So there is a solid state memory drive, and there is mechanical. So hard disk drives and disk drives were there. Then again, if you see from 1975 to 1985, the basic things which were there was microcontrollers, personal computers. Okay, in 1980 it was a very new thing and very great thing. Even in 1980s and near to that, it was an achievement to see a computer. If Zahir Bhai and Hussaini Bhai agree with me, in our when we were in 12th, and if somebody from our student group was fortunate enough to see a black and white computer, he used to shout everywhere that I have seen a computer, correct? So even seeing a computer is a great thing at that time, 1980s to let us say 1995 or 1906, even 2000, you can see that people were fascinated to see a color computer or a computer, and the things which we saw was MS-DOS only, black and white screen. Then process field bus systems, new actuators, new sensors implemented, integration of components, correct? And in 1995, because of these integration, we have mechanics, electronic hardware are combined together, software determines functions, new control systems, new design tools, simulation engineering, synergistic effects. Synergistic means when you add, this is a very important terminology, you can note down this, synergy. Synergy means 2 plus 2 is not equal to 4, but greater than 4. It means when you take electronics, when you take mechanical, electronic can do something which is equivalent to 2, and mechanical can do something which is equivalent to 2. And when you fuse it together, it is going to serve you something which were never thought of. Like mobile phones, it's a mechatronic product. We never thought of such thing in our life before. Correct? We hardly think of a phone where you put your finger and rotate and have discussion. So that was one thing. And now with the fusion of two technology, you are able to give something which were never able to imagine before. So it is synergy, called a synergistical integration of different domain of engineering. So that's what synergistical effect, like new products, entirely new product. And that was the era. If you try to see the innovations in this time from 1985 to today, you will see a huge number of products which were never been thought of is coming into the market, and even that chain is increasing. Now my question here is, if you understood here, from 1985, R.J. Bishop has stopped this chart in his book. Okay, he has given this time frame up to 1985. Today it is 2020, correct? So you can see 15 plus 35 years. So we are still 35 years talking about 35-year-old technology. If you have to extend this chart from 1985 to 2020, correct? My question is, what is the input to this era? What is the input to this era? What would you like to give as input? Yes.
Automation, sir.
automation, then any viewers are able to respond, or it is at the
They are
end?
muted, sir. They are muted, sir.
Okay, ठीक है, no problem. So we will discuss it later. So here, 1985 to 2020, the biggest thing which I observed is microsystems are developed, ठीक, MEMS microsystems, and the biggest thing I remember in 2020 I took admission in engineering college, and there after admission there was a big announcement that there is a new branch of engineering coming, and those who are interested they can give again the entrance exam, correct? And the branch of engineering was information technology, correct? In 2020, that was the branch of engineering that was introduced in India at a larger scale. So information technology is the thing which you can recall as a like a kind of engineering which has gone into this era, and then microsystems. So here you see increase integration and process microcomputers, miniaturization. So you will say that from 1985 to 2020, you have incorporated information system, communication system, correct? Miniaturization of process, correct? Information system and computer communication system. Nowadays, if you see any product, correct, you tell me any product which has got no communication, correct? If any product is having no communication, you will not be able, you will not be choosing that product. Communication means you have a mobile phone, it communicates, correct? You have digital watches which measures your BP and gives signal to somewhere, correct? You have anti-theft system which you put in your home, and whenever some movement is there, it will give you SMS or whatever signal is there. So it is nothing but communication system. You are doing something at the ground floor with a machine, correct? Machine is running or not running, the information is coming to the control room, correct? This is what information technology, data science, correct? And you can say the communication system which is enabling you to know what is happening at the site where you are not present, correct? So you are all time aware. If anything wrong going to happen, you are going to get that information on your screen, correct? You are going to get that information on your phone. There are various robotic and automatic motion system where you have a communication system. Let us take an example of weighing scale. You stand on the weighing scale and you get the weight. So next stage of this weighing scale will be, you stand on the weighing scale, the weight is going to be recorded in your mobile phone, correct? Your mobile phone will say your weight is this much, yesterday it was this much, you are eating too much, correct? And it can be connected to a software which will advise what to eat and what not to eat. It will take what you are eating every day, and it will suggest you what to eat from your regular recipe and what not to eat. So this is kind of intelligent system which is coming because of communication system only. So the machines are going to speak out, the machines are going to communicate. So this is what we are going to put from 1985 to 2020. So I have taken this chart just because to understand that automation is not new thing, robotics is not a new thing, mechatronics is also not new thing. We have started seeing this world from steam engine, correct? Steam engine, IC engine, correct? And then slowly you saw that how the things have developed, and a mechanical engineer, correct? A core mechanical engineer is forced to learn about relay, is forced to learn about the transistors and computers and electronics and biology and so on, correct? The human being is same, the information is getting developed every time, correct? So you have seen this is how today automation system is called as a synergistic integration of different domain of engineering. So let us see few basic things. What is the need of automation? So first thing is task simplicity. When you do something repeatedly, correct, either you make roti in your home, it is a repeated task, so you need an automatic system. So nowadays you see that roti makers are available. Have you seen that? You put flour, you put water, warm water, salt, whatever you want, and a kind of printer kind of machine which will give you roti out from the tray, correct? So task simplicity, people wanted to simplify the task. So task simplicity is one thing. Like here in this example, you can see a person is firing boiler, and the person is looking at the temperature gauge. With his own experience, he is going to control the task, correct? In 2007, I have gone to Ramagundam NTPC as well as Ramagundam for industrial tour for a month for a kind of training. So there I saw that at that time in super thermal power station at NTPC, they explained that the boiler is empty. First of all, they put uh, electric electrodes where the electrodes, like they are charging the electrodes, and they are going to ignite the system, and they ignite with diesel, correct? So the diesel fumes will be there, and they will ignite the electrodes, correct, high voltage, so it will spark the fire. And then once the fire is developed, they will start putting the coal powder there, correct? So there are three processes: starting the what you call ignition system, starting diesel system, and starting the coal system. These all three things are happening based on manual experience and manual process. A person, experienced person is there, he will say कि coal start कर दो भाई, ठीक है? Now you start the oil, now you start the coal. So it is all based on human experience. There is no automation at that time. And one of my friend working in NTPC, he told that what is our job? We have 4 buttons, correct? One for coal, one for oil, one for charging. And what we do, we operate those buttons. That's all. So you see that earlier these things were based on, now even nowadays these things are based on skill of the operator. And that's what is happening in driving. When you drive a car or bike, you take the decision, correct? And you drive the car in the way you want, and you out of your skill come out from different situations. If you are not skilled, you are going to bang the car anywhere, correct? So it is still, if you observe, the system is largely going to be dependent on human skill. And then if you take another example, I gave one current example is driving a car, driving a system where human skill is involved. Second system is surgical operations, like medical surgery, correct? You go to some doctor and say that he is a good doctor, he's a good surgeon. That surgeon is not a good surgeon. Why? Because one person is skilled, another person is not skilled. So human skill is still involved in our life today, where most of the things are automated, but there are areas like medical robotics and other areas are there where still human skill is playing a greater role. The another thing is fatigue, which is going to come into the operators or the workers from morning to evening. When they do a lot of work, they get tired of doing the same thing again and again. And that is how the quality is going to be deteriorated from morning to evening. So there are various studies conducted where people have saw that in a particular domain of time, like 10 to 12, the quality of the product is going to be very good. And evening time and very early morning time, the quality was not that much good. So quality is also going to be dependent on human like human worker tendency. Then type of production, speed of production which is required nowadays. Safety for the worker is a big point. The worker has to be safe. Like if you go and see these thermal power plants, steel factories, and nuclear systems where safety and hazardous tasks are carried out. Flexibility is required. Flexibility means today you are producing a kind of product, tomorrow you need to change the process sequence, correct? For example, mobile phone industry or any like food industry, where every month, every week, the specifications are going to change. So you have to develop a system which should be able to take these changes very quickly, and the production lines has to be able to accommodate those changes and should be able to produce the product with different specifications. So these are the need points of automation. Obviously, there are some what you call disadvantage of automation also from a worker's point of view. That is also there. So automation, if you find on net, let us take it as an assignment, find out the disadvantage of automation and try to address that you can write down as an assignment. Disadvantage of automation. Now let us see the structure of automation. What is the structure? So normally we say that a robot is automatic, a PLC and computers and CNC machine. We see those systems as automatic systems, but actually that is not the case. Any machinery which we see normal days is the field level, device level, or the lower level of the automation hierarchy or the structure. Here there are two figures which are explained. So we will start with device level or field level, this is called as, where you can see the robots, you can see the PLCs, you can see the motors which are going to act upon the real-time object. they are going to machine, they are going to transport, they are going to see the quality. Then these are going to be connected with different type of buses. The information is going to be connected, and PLC is going to play a role here. PLC is a kind of what you call electronic system. It is called as programmable logical controller, where we write the step of algorithm that this is what has to happen when this situation arises. Correct. So it has got all the program which operates conveyor, which operates robot, which operate workpiece and fan and safety system and everything all together in one system. So this PLC is going to instruct a robot. PLC is going to instruct a conveyor or what you call pick and place system to work in a synchronized way. So PLC is the mind here, technical mind, which is going to control everything here. And then it is going to be connected with line controller, which has got larger extent command over the PLC. So this is control PLC, that how the PLCs has to be responded. And then we have a plant level system wherein we see the all the activity of the plant synchronized together. Like in a plant, you have 10 shop, 10 activities are happening. From one shop to another shop, you have a material flow. But if one shop is not performing, this plant level system will give signal to PLC that you pause your activity so that it can make enough flow. So we can see there are three levels suggested here: plant level, cell level, and device level. In the device level, we find actuators and sensors. The another hierarchy here is strategic data exchange center, SCADA layer. We will see what is SCADA, control layer, and process layer, where you see the machineries, robots, and actuators and sensor. Control layer, you'll find out PLCs, correct? SCADA layer, you'll find computers on which you can see the shops. Like you play a video game, you see all the hardware in your screen. Similarly, in SCADA, you see all the hardware in the screen. And then finally, the strategic planning is there, which is going to be governing on all these layers. Now let us see what are the types of automation system. So types are nothing which we have seen from this chart. These are going to decide the type. So the first thing is uh, fixed automation. There is no programming. So fixed automation, then we have programmable automation, then we have flexible automation, and then we have integrated automation. So basically there are two things only. These bookish definitions are going to confuse sometimes. There are two things only: fixed automation and programmable automation. There are two things only. Fixed means you fix the sequence or you fix the step of the task, and that is not going to change. If you want to change it, you change the circuit, correct? You change the circuit, or you change the hardware. That is what is circuit. Hardware means mechanical things. You change the hardware, then only sequence will change. Example is IC engine. IC engine, what is logical here? The valves, okay, valves are operated through cam, lever, rocker arm, correct? And you have a cam here, correct? Eccentric cam, and these are going to move up and down. Similarly here, inlet and exhaust valves are there, which are going to operate through rocker valve, and cam is going to decide when it has to move up and when it has to move down, correct? So there is something called as valve timing diagram, correct, in IC engine. So on which component this valve timing diagram is going to be dependent? So the answer will be on this cam, design of cam, and rocker lever length is going to decide the time diagram of the engine, because this tells you 5 degree before, 10 degree after, and if you want to change this, what you need to change? You need to change the rocker arm, or you need to change the cam, correct? So it's a fixed automation. You told, you have given some intelligence to the machinery, to the valve, and the machinery knows then when it has to open the both valve or close both valve, open one valve or open other valve. Machinery knows it, and this information is inbuilt into the machinery by the help of cam or hardware. If next day you wanted to change the machine, valve timing diagram, if you want to change the valve timing diagram, you need to change the hardware. This is one thing. Second thing is, if you do something using logical gate like AND gate, OR gate, correct? So I will give you one example. Like you have two switches here, one switch here, another switch here. And the logic is, if you press both switch, then the bulb should operate. Correct? It can be anything, safety system or anything. When you have both signal on, then only this should on. So you will put a AND logic here. AND gate you'll be operating here, correct? And you'll be connecting it like this. So when both switches are on, then only the bulb will glow. If one switch is on, it is not going to glow, correct? So this uses AND logic. Next day, if your logic becomes OR logic, like if either of the two switches are on, then the bulb should glow, correct? Then what you need to do, you need to take out the circuit out of the system, put a new circuit with OR logic. So being a digital control system, it is also based on some circuit which has to be replaced. Like in your computer, you have a motherboard, correct? In your computer, you have a motherboard. If you say, I want i5 now, I don't want i3, what you need to do? You need to change the motherboard. You need to change the hardware. So that in that perspective, your computer is again a fixed automated system. If this happens, then that you from the server you choose a process that today I wanted to use i3. You click on i3, your system works with i3 motherboard. Next day you wanted to use i5, i7 or larger than that, correct? Or any other motherboard, you choose it software based and your system becomes i5 or i7. This will be called as programmable automation, where the IC engine nowadays people are trying to operate it using solenoid valves and program, where you write when this valve is going to open and when this valve is going to open and close. So you write the code. In code you write line by line at what event this valve is going to open and close. Now this system has become programmable system, correct? So fixed system required to change the hardware, and it is good for mass and larger time operation. When you don't expect any change, then the system is good. And programmable is good when you see that there are going to changes and you can write the program and put the sequence. So this is programmable. So there are two things only, fixed automation and programmable. Then coming to flexibility, in flexibility what happens, all the systems in manufacturing, if you have studied industrial engineering, you see starting from inventory to the finished product, you have n number of process. If everything is automated, then you called as flexible. It is starting from material handling, inventory control, everything is automated, correct? You put a button, the item is taken out from the go down. If you press a button, or it decides when it has to come down or move out. And then integrated auto system integrated, it means everything again is going to be automated with the larger what you call domain. So these are the different type of automation. Now the component, what we are doing, we are trying to remove a human being from the process and trying to bring a machine into the picture. That's what is automation, correct? Earlier some human being was working, now you want some machine to be work there. So you are going to remove a human being with a machine. So what do you require, correct? What do you require? So the first thing which you require, you see a human being is applying force, torque, pressure, correct, to do a job. Let us imagine a woodworking system where a human being is doing applying lot of force. So you require actuator, correct? Then a human being uses its vision system to see what is happening. The force getting reacted on his hands, correct? So he knows that, okay, the process is going into the right direction or into the wrong direction, or we have to stop it. So you require a sensor. Here you can see ultrasonic sensor on the water tank. So you require sensing system because human being also uses sensing system. Then you require mind controllers, which sees that what is happening and what I need to do from the actuator side. So in order to replace human being from any system, you require a machinery, and machinery must have these three components: actuators, sensors, and controller, correct? Now let us see quickly, because time is running out. It is 12:30, we have 30 minutes more. So let us see different type of actuator. The first family member is mechanical, okay? Electrical actuator, you know very well. All the type of motors, AC motor, DC motors are electrical. But we sometimes confuse that what is the mechanical actuator. So the family of mechanical actuator is also very, very large. Starting from steam engine, then you see water turbine, you see steam turbine. And the largest thing is IC engines, correct? IC engine means the engines which are there on the streets. All engines are mechanical. These are mechanical actuators, but nowadays probably next 5 to 6 years all the engines will be also replaced with electrical motors, correct? Now the electrical vehicles are coming. So motors in electrical actuator, we have motors in AC motor, we have one phase, three phase, induction, synchronous, servo motor. In DC, we have permanent magnet motor, series, shunt, compound, stepper motor, BLTC, servo, linear drive, hydraulics and pneumatics. This is kept aside because this is a combination of electrical plus mechanical system, because you require electrical supply to compress the fluid, okay, and then use it mechanically. So it is a different thing, hydraulics and pneumatics. And then bioactuators are also there. So if time permits, sometime in the future, the logic will be to see each and every actuator one by one, how to select one actuator, how to decide that your system which you are thinking to make of, you are trying to, suppose if you're trying to make a sweeping robot or mopping robot in your institute, every morning some human being labor has to mop the galleries, correct? So you require a mechanical mopping system. So based on the requirement, you'll be able to select which motor will be suitable for that task. So if you study it in a way, from mechatronics perspective, you'll be able to select a proper actuator for your application. Then coming to sensors. Sensors is what? Sensor is something which tells you what is the condition, what is the present state of the process. And depending on the process sensitivity, process what you call the sensitivity of the process, how critical, how crucial is the process, we are going to impart the sensing system. It may be sometimes sensing only one quantity like temperature or pressure or presence, or it may be able to sense scattered information like vision system, which sees everything and tells you process and tells you that what is happening. So it is used to sense or measure. Sense means something is there or not there, go or no go kind of thing. Measure means if something is there, what is the distance from the uh, any particular point. So measuring, like, it will, sensing means it will tell you hot or cold, measure means it will tell you what is the temperature. Then it acts as an interface between energy domain and information domain. So what is this? So basically, this is the energy domain where we work, and here is our actuation system which we give here. We give motions to this one, and sensing system take out the information from this one, it goes to the controller, and then it again direct the actuator to work. So this is called as information domain, and this is called as energy domain. So it is the interface between, here is the sensor, interface between energy domain, correct, and information domain. This is information domain where we collect the information about the energy domain. So different type of sensors are there. You already know: displacement, position, proximity, velocity, motion, force, liquid level, temperature, light sensor, fluid pressure, liquid flow, and so on. If you see it in detail one by one, maybe in 2 days, 3 days, we'll be able to complete all the type of sensors. So with that study, what you should know, like what is the outcome, what you should know about that. We are not what you call caring about the science and physics of this sensor. What we are interested about, the application. We would like to know what is the application, how to use it. You will be able to select a sensor. You'll be able to use a sensor. What is required? What are the other things required to use? Then you should know the cost. You'll know the cost and availability. Okay? So these are the things which you should know. That if you wanted to measure the sensor as an engineer, or as a what you call automation engineer or mechatronics engineer, you should know what are the n number of sensors which are available to sense the temperature. What is best among that, correct? And what is cheap among that? If I select one of that, what are the other things which are required to use that? So this would be the what you call outcome of the study from mechatronics perspective when you study the sensors. So these all things you should know. And the similar thing is there for actuator: application, selection, use, and cost and availability. Coming to the mind controller. So controllers are available in different ways. Hardware based logic, like mechanical logic, I gave you the example of IC engine. Electrical logic is relay logic, refrigerator door, correct, or electrical bell. When you put a switch on, correct, the bell ring. So it's an electrical system. Then digital electronics, and gate, or gate can be used. So these all are hardware. This is hard automation. This is called as hard automation, what we have seen, hard automation. And this is going to be most of the time semi-automatic system. And this is the first type of automation, hard automation, or the first one, non-programmable. This is non-programmable. Non-programmable. Hard automation or semi-automatic systems. Then process-based, processor-based computer hardware. You can use C, C++, MATLAB, Python, different type of language which gives you access on USB port or PCI serial port. So using those ports, you can produce the signals according to your wish, and then you can control a hardware. This is one thing where you use computer motherboard as a processor. Then you have, as I told you, using parallel port, serial port, or USB, or even Bluetooth or wireless system will help you. Then the another option is PLC, programmable logical controller, where you can use a sophisticated system used to give you the control over the hardware. So here you will get microcontroller and microprocessor, two things more, where the small controllers, like people are using Arduinos and PIC and different kind of controllers. So these are the various options available. So if you try to develop an automatic system, starting from hardware logic to computer based logic to PLC, and then microcontroller and microprocessor. The cheapest among them nowadays is microcontroller and microprocessor. The toughest among them is mechanical synchronization and mechanical logic. This is simple to imagine, but difficult to manufacture, correct? And next day when the logic changes, you need to change the hardware. These things are little bit difficult to implement, but this gives you the largest flexibility in application. Now coming to basic area of understanding, and the first member is robotics, correct? There are few names always coming across. Robotics, the name was given in, robot name was given in 1921, and robotics name was given in 1942. Okay. Then the another family member is automation. This name was given when we got freedom, 1947. This word was there in the world, automation. Then mechatronics. This word was given in 1965 by Japanese companies, Yashikawa Electrical Companies. The branch is there in Bangalore also. In 1969, this word mechatronics coined. Nowadays, this is the time of artificial intelligence. So I have selected the fonts accordingly. Robotic font is old, automation is okay, mechatronics is little what you call modern, and artificial intelligence is very modern. So let us discuss it for 5 or 4 minutes. What is this and how these things are related? So it is normally getting confused nowadays that what is what and how these things are getting related. It is very important to understand. See, everything, I will make a set here. This circle is mechatronics. This circle is mechatronics. Within this circle, robotics is coming. Within this circle, or not exactly here, some part is coming out. So within this, most of the part here and some part here. This is robotics. Okay. This whole is mechatronics. Robot is a mechatronic product. Automation is almost everywhere, taking help of mechatronics, taking help of robotics, and taking help of AI. Here is AI. This is AI. Now you will be able to understand. This is AI, this is automation, this is robotics, and this is mechatronics. Nowadays, people say that AI is also in mechatronics. That is another theory, correct? But this is a normal thing. So mechatronics is the combination of mechanical plus electrical plus computer. So when you say AI, some people say AI is also involved here. But if you take AI as a larger field, you take it outside. So this is dealing with algorithms, dealing with the strategies, dealing with the different type of controlling strategies and algorithms, correct? This is just algorithm and methodologies, correct? Uses one computer. Automation uses any mechatronic product. It can be robots also and AI system also, some type of intelligence. And robot largely uses mechatronic system, like it has actuators, sensors, okay, sensing thing, and some type of automation will be there or may not be there, and some type of intelligence will be also there. So this is how these areas are related. Robot is a mechatronic product, correct? This you have to understand. Robot is a mechatronic product. So it is a subset here. Robot is a mechatronic product. anything which you see nowadays, any product, if you see, starting from mobile phone or weighing machine or anything, it is a mechatronic product. So mechatronics is the largest perspective. Another domain is coming out from the mechatronics is artificial intelligence. Earlier, the controlling system was there already in mechatronics, but now since it has developed at large, it has come out as another bubble from the mechatronic system. So it has earlier as a control system existing here, and this has slowly emerged out at the largest field. So this becomes another family, AI. Otherwise, it was known as a control system, which is also a part of mechatronic system. So everything is a mechatronic system within which your robotics, automation, AI as a control system was already existing there. Now, since lot of development has taken place, it has moved out from that domain and it becomes its own specific field of mathematics actually, correct? Not even computer science, it is mathematics actually. So this is how the four areas are related. Now, common questions are there that if you take, we will discuss this question later, that if somebody asks you that this is a CNC machine and this is a robot, why can't we call CNC machine as a robot? Correct? So you will be trying to defend कि robot can move, CNC machine also move, robot can take decision, CNC machine also takes decision, it stops when it feels a jerk, advanced machines also stop. So there everything is common among them, but CNC machine is not called as robot, while robot is not called as a CNC machine. What is the difference? So similarly, as a largest perspective, robots, CNC machine, everything comes in the mechatronic system, correct? Where mechanical, electronics, computers, and control, everything is involved together. We will discuss, if time permits and if you're interested, we'll discuss this question. Now coming to mechatronics. So mechatronics is, as name suggests, mechanics and electronics. It gives you a name, mechatronics. So it's a synergistic system, and the working definition for us is it's a synergistic integration of sensors, actuators, signal conditioning, power electronics, decision and control algorithm, computer hardware and software to do what? This everything earlier in book you'll find out mechanical and electrical and control. So instead of writing this all, we have taken out actuation, sensor. So the thing which we were taking from these three domains are written here. To do what? To manage the complexity, uncertainty, and communication in engineered systems. These are the three things: complexity, uncertainty, and communication. If you right now see any what you call manual process, any manual process, and then you try to think about how to automate. So the thing which you are actually trying to do is managing the complexity, managing the uncertainty, and managing the communication system from manual to automated. This is what we do, correct? This is what is all automation about, all mechatronic thing or all smart product. Like for example, washing machines, you might have seen semi-automatic washing machine where you are also involved as a machine component, and fully automatic machine, you are also involved as a programmer. So what you do there, from semi-automatic to fully automatic or smart machine, what you do, we manage the complexity, correct? If you have ever washed the cloth by your hand, you know what is the complexity there, correct? You know what is the complexity, and you manage the complexity by making a rotating drum, correct? You manage the complexity by making a rotating drum. Then uncertainty is involved. What is uncertainty? You rinse the cloth and you may not know whether it is water drops are coming out. So managing the uncertainty and you rotate it, managing the complexity plus uncertainty. Uncertainty is also involved from semi-automatic to automatic. You manage the uncertainty. In fully automatic, you do the communication system also. You as a programmer, program which mode you want. You communicate to the system, and system again communicate to you using sound signal that it has done, correct? So every product development nowadays and or earlier is nothing but about managing the complexity, uncertainty involved, and communication involved. This is the different paradigms. If you type on Google image mechatronic paradigm, you'll find different figures, correct? Different figures where you can see mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, and this is how it is going to merge together to give a new word, mechatronic. We will not discuss it in detail. We'll move further. In one of the paradigms, you'll find mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and information technology. This is very interesting, where instead of electronics or another thing, information technology is playing a role. And this is what I said that from 1985, okay, from 1985 to today, 2020, this is the era of information technology. So let us see how it works. The best example I found is SCADA system, which is called as Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System. Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System. So what it does, this is the example where you can see that this is the, it's a computer screen. First of all, this is a computer screen wherein some control is shown to you, and it is kind of video game, nothing else. So what you see here as a whole, you first look about a chart, something is written, and okay, there is a tank. Okay, so you understood, okay, there is a water tank, probably water is written, so it's a water tank. Okay, and then being an engineer, you understand there is a in here and there is a pump out here, correct? That's what you understand. There is water in here and water out here, and then you can suspect, okay, I think this is going to change the pump speed, gallon per minute, these buttons up and down, correct? And then you see there is some scale is there, 100 to 0, and this is one pointer, it's another pointer, and then you see limit switch detection 80, so now it is at 80, and 20, it is at 20. Okay, so what is this? This is going to be placed limit switches when you get the signal siren. When the water crosses upper limit, you get a signal. When the water goes beyond lower, you get a signal. So you have probably access on this position of limit switches. You can place it. You can place it to 80 and 20. Next day you wanted to place it to 90, you can place it to 90. The signal will come until it goes to a water level of 90. So the actual pump, and then here you can see the history, what is happening to pumping and other system, correct? So this is about one system which is called as wastewater control system. Okay, it's a wastewater control console where you see a tank, operation of a tank, and we have automated a tank using SCADA system. The tank may be situated 100 kilometers away from you, correct? Tank is not here. Tank is somewhere, but you are going to control the tank. What you do, supervisory control, correct? You are doing the supervisory control. You put all the things here and there, and data acquisition system. So you acquire all the data, water level, about the pump, about the flow, everything you know, and then you control. So you need not to be there at the place where the tank is actually installed, correct? So you can be anywhere and you can control the system. And the second example is here you can see the whole plant in front of you on computer system. This is again the example of SCADA system, where the whole plant involving multiple tanks, multiple motors and pumps and lines are there. And for each system, if you make double click, the similar window will be open and you can tune each subsystem one by one. If any issue is going to come, you'll be able to see the color of line will change. Understand? So being the system situated in 2 kilometer area, 2 square kilometer area, a worker need to know where is that motor, where is that valve. If that fault has happened, the skilled or experienced worker has to run from the control room to that valve location and then actually know that what has happened, correct? This was the old system. Nowadays, the whole plant is in front of you on a computer screen, correct? Now, if you see the control room of NTPC, thermal systems, or any engine system or driving system, okay, there you find such kind of a screen where on the same screen, you find everything controlled. So this is the what you call the thing which is coming out from the SCADA system, and this is nothing but information and communication system. And not only this one, this plant can be located in Dubai, and you being in Hyderabad, you can control this plant. You can see what is happening. Everything is connected through Ethernet. As long as your internet connection is fine, correct, you are able to control your system in online. So that is what is the best thing in now this era I would like to show here. Now we will quickly go through robotics. Nothing more, nothing much is there. Robotics nothing but started with mechanism as simple as lever, then machines, combination of different mechanism. Then you came about robot and the word robotics, mechatronics, MEMS, nano, and so on. These are the same chart which you have seen in a different way. So the history says that in 1921, Karl Čapek, a writer, given the robot work name Robota, it means a labor. And in 1942, a novel was written by Isaac Asimov called as Robotics, and he has given different terminologies of laws of robotics and all, which is there in all books. So what is a robot? The definition is it's a mechanical manipulator. Manipulator means it's manipulate the object, put here and there in different way. Like if you have to manipulate the mobile phone, you can put it in this way, you can put it in this way, in this way. So what you are doing, using your hand, you manipulate it. You just manipulate it here and there. So this is called as manipulation. Putting it in different surface from one point to other point. This is manipulation. And it is controlled through software. It should be programmable. If it is not programmable, it's a toy. Understand? If any robot is not programmable, it's a toy. So sometimes people may ask, this is a toy and this is a robot. Why this toy is not robot? So you may ask, is it programmable? If it is programmable, it is also robot. If it is not programmable, it's a toy. It has got a sequence of motion and that's what it's showing. There is nothing more. It has got no intelligence, maybe limited, but since it is non-programmable, you don't have an algorithm where you say that when you sense this, what to do, and so on. So programmability is the main feature of robot. Of course, manipulability is also there. Then sensors should be there to sense what is happening around it. And then the biggest thing is intelligence, which gives it the ability to respond to different scenario. Correct? When temperature is high, the robot may react in different way. When somebody hit the robot, it may react in different way. So mechanical manipulator, programmable or software controlled, it should have a sensor and then it should respond to the different inputs. So that is robot. And let us see, Ford Motor Company in 1905 has implemented the first production line, first assembly line actually, using robots. So you find this article, Henry Ford changed the world. The article is available in this, where you can see Henry Ford sitting on its first Ford vehicle. You would not like to have this vehicle, correct? This is a Ford automobile, correct? So they were first in somewhere in 1905 as the book of Brewer, and as by this website, 1905 or 1908, they were the first to implement automatic assembly line in the manufacturing of automobiles. So this is the first development in automation. And this graph is known to you when you study the automation in Brewer CAD/CAM book. So hard automation gives you highest cost if the mass production if the production is less. Hard automation is going to be the cheapest when the production volume is largest. And somewhere the cost effectivity is going to come in this domain for automation system or robotics, where you see this gives you the minimum cost. Now coming to the industrial robot, it normally looks like this, but actually it has got different forms. So the first thing is, which you study in all books. If you open any book, you get 4 or 5 configurations. That's what I have taken for introduction. This is gantry or cantilever robot, and then you get cylindrical, and then you have a spherical, then you have Android kind of articulated arm, then SCARA. Okay, so these are the 5 major configurations which are used in industry. So the most flexible one is the articulated arm assembly robot, which is normally used. Otherwise, these all are specific for specific applications. Now, what is there in robotics? I think 4 or 5 slides are more, and we are going to meet the 6 minutes or more. So what is we study and we teach in robotics? So we study and teach mechanical design and issues, kinematics, dynamics, trajectory planning and controlling, and intelligence. This is what we teach. And we mechanical engineers basically focus upon these issues. Okay, forward kinematic model, inverse kinematic model, workspace study, Denwitt-Hartenberg notations, correct, making the frame assignment and developing the forward and inverse kinematic model. There are different dynamic models, so that we do, and then we plan the trajectory. So that is how we as a mechanical engineer do. The electrical people are more concerned about controlling, how to control n number of motors at a time. And then if you are able to understand the different thing which is happening around the robot, you should be able to write a sequence of steps, correct? That this is how the robot has to respond in different scenarios. So that will give you the intelligence. There are many things which is advanced in this intelligent area. So the first point, mechanical design and issues are nowadays is almost saturated. There is nothing more which is to be done. Yes, accuracy, repeatability, and somewhere where you have some what you call opportunity to increase the accuracy, there we can work about. Otherwise, the largest thing which is happening in intelligence area, where we think that how a vision system can be incorporated, how two robot can simultaneously work like my hand. So now the concept is now two robots doing the same assembly, like this assembly or this, like you do the assembly, you open something, you close something very quickly, you use your eyes and brain. So nowadays two robotic systems are going to play a major role. Then a human being and a robot, it is called as human robot interaction, correct? Means I myself as a worker, and I have another robot here, I will give this pen to it, it will hold it, then I will do something and I will again take it. The robot will understand that this fellow always wanted to put cap over this one, so next time when I take the pen, the robot will give me a cap and I will be able to do it. Like as I have a small child with me helping me in this assembly task, or a skilled labor with me helping in the assembly task. So this is the new era which is coming in intelligence. It is called as a human robot interaction. Now coming to the last slide, opportunity and challenges. So where we can work, as it is a faculty development program, we should know what we can do now. So one area is product development, where we can see the challenges around us. There are many challenges. Like for example, a normal challenge, you can see that a person holding a gas cylinder on the shoulder coming to your second floor or first floor. This is a challenge. Nowadays, transportation of water bottles, correct? The 20-liter water bottles, RO purified waters, is a challenge. You have to make, you can make, think of a device which can move through stairs, accommodated in the lift, and then can come to your door. Or is it not possible that you are residing in a building, and then a person put a tray of 20 bottles near to the lift, and it automatically goes to every door, and you get a signal that water has come, correct? So like that things can be think of. Then academia research, where we can do the research. So you can basically, as I told you, mechanically you find the scope in different operations, you can analyze different operation, and you can find out where is the opportunity to improve the accuracy, correct? And how to do academia research, I would like to give this point every established researchers knows. So what we do actually, you take a simplest paper, simplest journal paper, whatever old it may be, but it should be like, if you are searching today, it should not be on 2016, some 3-4 year within. Take a basic paper and see what they have done in that paper. If you find it simple, use it, otherwise leave it, correct? You take a paper which you feel it is simple, the things which are shown in the paper is available in my lab, and or I can do it on computer, and try to reproduce that paper, try to reproduce the paper, try to get the same result which they have given, either through simulation or through experimentation or whatever. So now in that area, you are at the stage of 2016. So whatever they have achieved in 2016, you are now standing at par with them. You are also getting the same result. Now the process of 6 months or 1 year, which you will spend to reproduce that paper, correct? Within that duration of 1 year or 6 months, you have lot of new ideas regarding that thing. Understand? You get the result, and along with that result, your intelligence will tell you that you can do something more over that one, correct? And that is how, from standing from a research paper of 2016, you can think of another thing which you can screw in that paper, which you can add in that paper and produce your own research work, correct? So if you wanted to jump in any research field, the basic methodology says that you find out a comfortable domain, comfortable paper of recent time, and then try to reproduce it. And it will obviously take 6 months to 8 months or even 1 year to reproduce the exact same result. And then you can, obviously you will know that what are the changes. Then if you wanted to start consultancy project, like, then you have to see different type of industrial process, correct? Different type of industrial process. And then you can suggest that I will be able to make some machine, I will be able to make some process even on paper, that is fine, okay? And then suggest you that this is how you move from manual to what you call automated system. Nowadays you see in the food industry, making idli, making dosa, making roti using machines, correct? So this is how you should be able to observe that what is happening around you, where you can incorporate automatic system, and then you can suggest a product. Then coming to teaching methodologies, how to teach these subjects, robotics, mechatronics, and automation. So basically it should be through question answers, through different kind of case studies, There are some books which I will show you. So here, this is an example of product development where our students develop this robot. So we have developed this robot in 2018, and it is called as ultraviolet C ultraviolet sterilization robot, which is meant to sterilize the hospital operation theaters. So basically, in operation theater, they fumigate formaldehyde and other chemicals to kill the bacteria and germs, and then they mop it. This process requires 8 hours. So operation theater, once one operation is carried out, will be ready in next 6 hours and 8 hours to be for another operation. So reduce that time. To reduce that time, we propose an UV light source which will move around to clean the bacteria and germs. The same system is now is used in what you call in virus killing also. So UV lights are going to dissociate, open the DNA change. So the DNA change. So that is how it is going to kill the virus. So here you can see it is automated moving from one point to other point. It has got a touch screen, which you can see here. It has got four wheels, Magnum wheels. Four Magnum wheels are there. A full P4 i3 computer is there inside. Then 2 degree of freedom robotic arm is there. Then a touch screen. A full inverter is there in this machine, AC inverter with battery, because these UV lights above this are running through AC, correct? So you require inverter. Later, the students took this product and form a company called as Vinan Labs, correct? So this company is there which is selling this product now. Nowadays it is, so here you see a 2 degree of freedom robotic arm which is able to move the UV lights up and down. So you can cover all the shadow area, correct? If you take a static light, you have shadow, but with that you can cover all the shadow area. So this is one thing. And based on that, recently uh, they have launched this product. This is called as Homa UV Tower, based on that product only. And this is for today's coronavirus problem. So we have removed this automated system and put a manual caster wheels, so that that cost can be minimized and things can be done automatically. So this is how you can develop a product. You can think of the things and develop the product size. There are many products available also, but with the same thing, but these are very costlier, 60 lakhs, 82 lakhs, and this is only 2.5 lakhs. So this is how you can think of developing some product, correct? That's what I said in the first point. Then academia research, you can see different journals are there from where you can see. These slides will be available to you. And then you can see different journals. These are the rank, Soft Robotics, SAGE International Journal of Robotic Research, Journal of Field Robotics, IEEE Transaction on Robotics. So I have taken one, two, around 10 good journals are there. From there, you can pick the papers of robotics on and automation on mechatronics also. And then industrial product development, you can see different processes are there in assembly line, food manufacturing, packaging lines, which are mostly in manual. Quality inspection lines are there, and process automation, like in pharmaceutical industry, in food industry, you can think of automating the processing. In teaching, you can use books like Robotics by R.K. Mittal, I.J. Nagar. This is the first Indian author book, which gives lot of examples. Then Gruber gives you only theory. R.J. Schelling is there. It is also theory based. So these are the books which I will suggest. For mechatronics, you can, the very basic book is Bolton. From any mechanical engineer can start from this. And the medium level book is Smiley, okay, Oxford Press printing. So these are the two books which I use for mechatronics. Then we can go for experimentation. If you are teaching, give own problems, own projects, instead of running black boxes where a student switch on something, take the data. Instead of that, you can ask to create own problems. That is a form of project. And then we can take different case studies, real time or created conditions by our own, to teach these things. So with that, I close this session, and it is 5 minutes more only. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
so
you.
now,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Arshad Javed.
yes,
It's a really wonderful session. I think you just introduced about automation, a lot of things you told about automation, and then finally glimpses about robotics. I think it's a wonderful lecture. Most of the faculties who participated today are really impressed. Few questions may be there, but because of lack of time, I'm not permitting any
yes,
question
yes,
today. But I informing to the participant that Dr. Arshad Javed actually he told me when I asked about take a session of 1 hour for faculty development program, he told that an automation and robotics is very difficult to cover within 1 hour. So actually he given me almost some 10 to 12 hours of courses for this automation 10 to 12 hours as well as robotics 10 to 12 hours. So then I told just give an introduction to this course in this FDP, and maybe in future we are going to conduct
yes,
one special short-term course on this automation, one course, and as well as robotics. So very soon we are going to announce that one. So I really encourage all the faculties who's interested in automation and robotics, because nowadays this artificial intelligence is very much demand. So most of the people are looking for artificial intelligence. I think today Dr. Arshad Javed is given very good insights about artificial intelligence also. So inshallah in future maybe we'll conduct one a short-term course on this automation as well as on robotics. So
yeah,
about details about the course we are going to share very soon.
yeah,
And we are very much thankful to Dr. Arshad Javed to spend this your valuable time and preparing the very useful slides. And if you share the slides, maybe after the
yeah,
completion of this FTP, we are going to share our participants.
yes, yes.